How's it going, everyone? It's Harvey from Weather Sponge Drop. Today is June 22nd, 2021, and today we're going to forecast the type of conditions we should expect this fall for the United States. Will it be warmer than average in your location? Will it be cooler than average? Will you potentially see some early season snow? I will discuss all those points in this video, but before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather accounts. Make sure to like if you like this video. Make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather accounts. So let's begin by taking a look at the Nino region sea surface temperature anomaly, or pretty much the departures from average, especially more specifically in the Nino 3.4 region, a region that's synonymous for forecasting what phase of an El Nino we're in, whether we're in a La Nina, an El Nino, or neutral phase. And as you can see, for the past 12 months, the sea surface temperatures have been below average, and the departure has peaked right around November of 2020, where we saw temperatures around 1.8 degrees Celsius below average for that time of the year in the Nino 3.4 region. And we saw those cooler than average sea surface temperatures continue for the past 12 months. However, of course, ever since the month of November, the temperatures have begun to rebound more closer to average, which as a result, we have phased more into a neutral phase as of right now, right around the June timeframe, beginning right around May when we went above the 0.5 degree departure from below average for when it comes to the Nino 3.4 region. So as a result, we are now in a neutral phase, but of course we're still several months away from the fall. So take this forecast with a grain of salt, but we are able to at least forecast what's the most likely scenario, what's the most likely phase that's going to happen in the future for the fall months. And as you can see, based off of this, you might be thinking that we're gonna go back above average sea surface temperatures, or at least hover around average for the next several months. However, that isn't entirely the case, because if we were to take a look at the forecast over the next several months when it comes to the sea surface temperatures in the Nino 3.4 region and what phase we are going to be in headed into the fall months, you see that for the next several months in the summer, a neutral phase is more likely all the way to the month of August and even into September. However, you see heading closer and closer to the fall months, the uncertainty becomes a little bit higher because it isn't so clear whether or not we're going to be in a La Nina phase or a neutral phase. However, an El Nino phase seems pretty much nearly impossible at this point over the next several months, even headed into the winter of 2022. So the most likely scenario for this fall should either be that we're going to be in a La Nina phase, which means the sea surface temperatures in the Nino 3.4 region will be below average, or the neutral phase where the sea surface temperatures will hover around average for the next several months, headed into the fall months, which I'm including September, October, and November in this forecast. So what could this mean over the next several months? So if we are to take a look at what typically happens during a La Nina phase, we typically receive cooler than average conditions in the northern Midwest states as a result of a visible dipping jet stream. We see, of course, more moist conditions around the Pacific Northwest because the jet stream is pretty much moving right over that area, and it's going to bring a lot of troughs from the northern Pacific, and that's going to make it more moist than average in the Pacific Northwest region. And then we're going to see that moisture spread into the Ohio River Valley, which is typical that this area receives more moist than average conditions throughout this area during a La Nina phase. And typically during a La Nina phase, we also see warmer than average conditions in the southeastern United States and drier than average pretty much for the entire southern United States at that point. And during a La Nina phase, I also say that it'll be more moist than average in the northeast because there's a more visible jet stream dip, and that'll allow for more low pressure systems to move over that area. So as a result, it should be more moist in the northeast than usual during a La Nina phase. However, is it so it isn't, like I said, it's very uncertain whether we're going to be in a La Nina phase or a neutral phase, because you see that a La Nina phase is more likely for the months of October and November, you see that a neutral phase isn't so unlikely either, because there's still over 40% chance of a neutral phase occurring during those months. And in the month of September, it's more likely that we're going to be in a neutral phase. So it's not very clear whether we're going to be in La Nina or neutral phase. However, I want to point out that the differences between a La Nina and a neutral phase when it comes to weather conditions in the United States isn't so drastically different. So it isn't really going to make major changes to the fall forecast, because they're very similar when it comes to weather conditions in the United States, the neutral and the El Nino phase, and the La Nina phase. So as a result, you should, based off of the current conditions, you should at least expect more moist than average conditions in the Northwest Pacific and the drier than average conditions in the United States. However, there's more stuff we need to take into consideration before we make our full fall forecast, since the La Nina phase isn't the primarily data point to use when forecasting the fall season. We also need to take a look at climatology models, which actually synthesize historical data a little bit more based off of what is currently happening. And sometimes a year could be, and sometimes the things that are happening right now could be so specific that it's better to use computer models or climatology models in this case. So if we are to take a look at the CFS model, 3 month average when it comes to temperature anomalies, you see that for the months of September, October, November, which are considered fall months, you see that most of the western half of the United States is expected to be warmer than average based off of the CFS model, and this extends to the Northeast as well in the northern United States. However, you see that the southeastern section of the United States and portions of the Midwestern United States are mainly going to receive average to slightly below average temperatures closer to the south central portion of the United States. So as a result, for the next couple months, if we were to take the CFS model into consideration, it should be a warmer than average summer. When it comes to precipitation for the CFS model, taking a look at the 3 month monthly anomaly, when it you see that most of the United States is expected to be mainly average for when it comes to precipitation. However, we do have portions of the western United States receiving drier than average conditions, and we also do see more moist than average conditions in and around the eastern half of the United States. So if we were to take the CFS model in consideration, most of the United States besides the southeastern United States should be warmer than average, while in terms of precipitation, there should be portions where it's going to be drier than average in the western half of the United States, the Midwest, and the Northeast. However, the CFS model isn't the only thing we're going to take a look at to make this forecast. While it is certainly reliable, and the La Nina and neutral phases are certainly important when forecasting this, we also need to take a look at what's currently happening when it comes to drought. And as you can see, a lot of the western half of the United States is currently in a very is currently very drought stricken at this time, where we see conditions much drier than average, especially for the southwestern United States, where we do see the darker reds, which represent much drier than average conditions, and just a very bad drought happening. And the good news is the drought throughout Texas has weakened quite a bit as a result of an increased amount of thunderstorm activity. However, for the western half of the United States, it still has yet to go away, and it's been the case for the past several months. And like I've been saying in my previous weather forecasts, it's very hard for drought to go away just like that. And while we're still only in the month of June, there still could be a lot of changes till the month of September, October, and November. It's still gonna. It's I still have my doubts that we're gonna see this drought go away based off of the pattern we've been seeing over the past several months. Or certainly the possibility, since there's still several months till fall, but in my personal opinion, I don't think it's gonna go away, especially with La Nina or neutral phase most likely at this point, which typically brings drier than average conditions, especially the southwestern half of the United States. So as a result, I do expect the drought conditions to continue. And what this means for the western half of the United States is that, of course, this fall would be drier than average, and it'll be warmer than average because there's not going to be a lot of clouds that's going to block the shortwave radiation from the sun from hitting the surface, which is the primary way that temperatures heat up on Earth. And since there isn't clouds to block that, it's going to be much warmer than average for a lot of the western half of the United States, I expect, because it's going to be drier than average. However, in the Northwest Pacific, there's still that possibility that we could it'll become more moist than average thanks to a La Nina coming in. Because we're gonna see that jet stream move through, bring a lot of troughs through the area, and it should help diminish the drought somewhat in the Northwest Pacific. However, the southwestern portion of the United States is going to be very hard, in my opinion, to get this drought away. So I expect drought conditions and much warmer than average conditions to continue for the western half of the United States for this fall. But another thing we need to take a look at is pretty much climatology data points, and more specifically the type of conditions you should experience during years after a strong La Nina. So of course, last year we had a very strong La Nina, and taking a look at the years where the years after a strong La Nina for the month of fall between September and November, which includes the years 1950, 1955, 1965, and so on, you see that a lot of the western half of the United States during years after a strong La Nina in the fall are much warmer than average, and this includes the Northeast as well. And in my opinion, this is the most reliable data point when forecasting the fall season because all these years I'm listing right here are very similar to what's happening this year, where we're just coming off a strong La Nina season, and all these years combined to give a strong data point that temperatures will be warmer than average in the Northeast and the Southwest during the United States as well, while the midsection of the United States and the South Central United States should be around average or cooler than average in some cases. So I'd say this is the most reliable data point I have when regarding the fall season, and I think this is going to be the most accurate representation of what's going to happen this fall, because like I said, all these years are very similar to what's happening this year, and this is over 50 years of data, so it's quite reliable. And this is comparing it to the long-term average between 1951 and 2010. So this is a very reliable data point. When it comes to precipitation, typically this is also very similar to what the CFS model is forecasting and what typically happens during a La Nina. We're seeing more moist than average conditions throughout the Ohio Valley and the Southeast, and this includes the Great Lakes region as well. It's expected to be drier than average throughout the southern United States as well, and this extends to the south west during these years. So as a result, you should expect more moist than average conditions throughout the Ohio Valley and the Northwest Pacific as well. So this is certainly something to keep in mind when making this fall forecast. In terms of my total fall forecast, pretty much synthesizing all the data points we have from the La Nina forecast to the climatology models to climate data from the past, is what we should expect for this fall. So for the eastern half of the United States, I'm expecting it to be warmer and drier than average, because you see that in this the temperatures are expected to be warmer than average in the eastern, especially in the northeastern half of the United States, and drier than average in the southeastern United States, the southeast coast more specifically, and it's also the fact that we're gonna Typically in the southern United States, it's warmer than average, so this would include the southeast as well. And I expect it to be more cool and moist than average in the Ohio River Valley and headed southward because climate data points from years prior show this and exemplify this. And we also, and during the La Nina, we typically see that jet stream dip and bring more low pressure systems to this area, which make it more cool and moist than average. And of course, during the La Nina, we also see more colder than average conditions throughout the northern Midwest because we see a visible jet stream dip, and I expect it to be much warmer and drier than average, and hot and extremely dry in the extreme southwestern portion of the United States because we're going to be in a strong drought. The climate data points show it's going to be much warmer than average, and we're going to be in the La Nina, which typically brings drier than average conditions into the southwestern United States. I expect it to be more warm and moist than average thanks to a La Nina moving through. That's going to bring a lot of low pressure systems into the area. So this is my fall forecast. In terms of the chance of snow, I do expect it to be most likely, of course, in the northern Midwest, where it's expected to be cold and drier than average thanks to a dipping jet stream. And we could see maybe some snow in the Great Lakes region as well, since it's expected to be cool and more moist than average. So as a result, more snow could be possible in those areas. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it for this video. I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather records. Make sure to like if you like this video. Make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather content. And I hope you guys have a good day.